As you can judge from the thumbnail and title of this episode, I will indeed be changing one of the headlights on my Mark 1. Now, the headlights on my car aren't particularly bad, but there are some common faults, unfortunately, that these particular ones both suffer from. And I am going to point out all these issues in a second. I literally found a brand new headlight on eBay, genuine. Somebody had bought, obviously, and never actually fitted to their car. And I'm going to show you that in a second, but it literally is brand new, absolutely brand new. And it's far better than the passenger one that I've got on the car. It is a passenger side one in the UK, the near side front headlight. There are a few things that you need to be aware of when changing a headlight, and a few little common faults that maybe you might spot or maybe you might have missed. So that's my job to intercede into that. Anyway, let's get cracking. Now, we start off by revealing my garage. I haven't really done a great deal apart from a spares video I did a few weeks ago. It is incredibly dusty in here. I've got the 45 windscreen ready to be fitted. I have actually purchased this and it has the green tint, which was only ever fitted to the early 45s if you watch my 45 stuff. And yes, I've put this on the wall, but I've slightly misjudged the height and the length of it. The length was good for the Focus, but unfortunately needed to be fractionally lower. The rubber strip kind of hits the wall here, so this is actually kind of useless in that respect. And I have a cricket ball, an old wind ball that I used to when I used to play cricket, that is, before my arm injuries, my shoulder injuries. But yeah, I've managed to hang that down and it is brilliant. And I have properly made myself at home here. I've put a few more garage signs up. I thought these will be quite nice. So we've had a few bits going on, but everything is pretty dusty, and that is exactly what I want for this car. That car is absolutely bone dry. And yeah, that is a Porsche there. This is the new headlight, and I'll just reveal it to you now. This box is full of 80% puffs, which is exactly what you want for this sort of thing. And it is absolutely brand spanking new. The rubber it's proper rubber. It doesn't feel hard and brittle like it's going to literally rip apart. This is going to be absolutely amazing. And more importantly, and this is a common fault with these headlights when you buy them secondhand or buy them online and they're delivered, the corners unfortunately stick out quite a bit, and these mounts can frequently break, and that is what has happened on both that headlight and this headlight. By the way, these are not my originals. My originals, both of them had seal issues. Where you'd get massive amounts of condensation in both lights, and it actually started to go yellow in both. It's not actually that common to see this sort of thing, not on the facelift headlights, but on the earlier Mark 1 headlights with the indicators in the bumper, so it's just a plain headlight, same shape, just without the indicators in the corner. They tend to go yellow quite badly. I've seen quite a few of them with real bad seal issues. It is the seals, and condensation builds up and then dirt builds up, and then they go yellow on the inside as well as the outside. But these don't suffer as much in a sense, but they can go kind of yellow in the corners here, which is something that you can polish out with a bit of wet sanding. But this headlight is the one we're replacing, and I'm just going to show you a few of the issues that these headlights tend to pose. Okay, well, as you can see with my headlights, they look in good condition lens-wise. I'm really quite pleasantly surprised by how good the lenses are on these, considering I have actually never wet sanded these, by the way. I've never wet sanded them, unlike Project Beatrix. There are a few things to look out for. Obviously, as I've said, my bracket, the bracket on this one, when it was delivered to me via a courier, it was broken, and I lost the end piece, and I don't know where it went. And unfortunately, we're getting a tiny bit of movement. However, I've got to be honest with you, I asked my MOT tester about this, and he said the movement is so marginal, it wouldn't even consider it to be an advisory. It's when they really do move, that's a failure, complete failure. Usually, if these break off, and I have known to this is the first mount up here, the second mount is here, and if you're not careful, these can break. They are quite flexible, and if these break, you're in trouble, because you're done for, basically. And then you will get movement. And then there's another mount on the bottom of the headlight, which I'm going to show you. In fact, I can actually show you the bottom mount. If we just turn this upside down, it's here. It's this one right underneath the headlight. It's that one, okay? And that is held on by a 10mm nut. They're all 10mm nuts. So this one, and then the one at the bottom. And that is basically all that holds it on. And obviously you've got to disconnect the electrics, but that is no big deal. On this side, we've got the same issue, but I actually did a hot staple repair on this side, and it's actually held up pretty nicely. A hot staple gun is a really good tool to use for this, and there is no movement now in this. But now I have a replacement, which I think there's quite a bit of difference between the two of them. Then obviously you can, it's quite appropriate to be swapping this over. When you grab stuff like this, I mean, this cost me £37 on eBay. That's crackers. Of course you're going to go for one, because these are about 150 to 200 pounds brand new from Ford. You can still get them, but you pay a price. Hopefully I'll be able to get a driver's one to obviously replace this. I suspect I'll just throw this in the bin because of that issue. This one, I think I might keep. I don't know yet, because at the end of the day, the rest of it is purely useless, but I may just keep it on the basis that I did a repair and it did work. So it will go into my spares today. But I'm just going to show you how to change the headlight itself, which is pretty simple, really. So actually, before I move on, the only other thing that you might find is that the seals can actually go. So when the seals go, it allows condensation into the headlight itself. It's usually, there's a little seal that goes along here. Now, a lot of people say, well, you can take this back off and you can actually reseal it back up. Yes, you can, because I know for a fact that loads of people have done this when modifying their headlights, like fitting inside tints to black them out, like the ST170 lights, which are a little bit darker. I don't recommend doing stuff like that, because at the end of the day, it's kind of, it's a bit of a fuzzy thing when it comes to the legality of the MOT test tinting headlights. I just don't really like it. I think if you want an ST170, either buy the blooming headlights or just buy an ST170. Don't start messing with these, because then if you don't seal it up properly with RTV silicone or whatever equivalent you can find to seal the headlights up, you're going to get condensation in the winter, and you're not going to enjoy it at all. It just looks really bad. And also, a bit of a whinge here, I do not like it when people fit LED lights to these halogen clusters. These are halogen projectors. I'm not going to speak on behalf of the Xenon lights, because the Xenon lights are a very different technology, and they were only ever fitted to either the ST170s as a, I believe it was an option extra. It might have been standard. Correct me if I'm wrong about that. It was an option on a few other models as well, but very rarely fitted. It was probably more of an option on the gear than anything else. They are a very different technology. But when it comes to these headlights, which 95% of Focuses, maybe more than that, are actually fitted with, do not fit LED bulbs, halogen H7 bulbs. They have got H7 dip beams. The main beams, like many other cars, unless you've got an earth problem, they rarely give up. They rarely blow, including the indicators. I don't think I've ever changed a main beam and the side repeaters, the indicator. But the main dip beam, it's very common for them to go within about 12 months. I've had these, touch wood, for longer than that, to be honest. And these are really cheap halogen bulbs, but do not fit LED bulbs into these projectors. These projectors just here, this little globe that goes in front of the bulb, they are designed to spread the beam of a halogen bulb. They are not designed to spread the beam of an LED bulb. LED bulbs have a beam pattern which is pretty straight. So which is why with LED bulbs, they have to be kind of all round. Whereas a halogen bulb, which is basically just a filament with a bit of gas, a bit of halogen gas, it has a 360-degree light beam projection. That projector has been designed for a halogen bulb. If you fit LED bulbs, you are going to annoy a lot of drivers. And believe you me, I say this very strongly, do not do it. It looks stupid and it doesn't look right. It's as simple as that. I know people go for all this white look. I know you can fit more expensive premium halogen bulbs, which are a bit more whiter than the yellow standard cheap stuff that I tend to fit. But these cars have yellow headlights. It's just the way they were. It's the time they were made. And I just think LED headlights, if you want LED headlights, buy a Mark III or buy a Mark IV. It looks better on them than a Mark I. Sorry. The other really frustrating thing is actually changing the bulbs itself. These back covers, right, they're held in with this retaining spring, and I'm going to show you that more in detail in a second, but you just push the spring down and then the cover comes off, which is all good, and you can get access to the bulbs. Right, that is my bumper actually clicking in and out. Flexible plastics and all that. And then you get access to the clips. The clips are a bit fiddly-diddly, and I'm going to show you how to actually change the bulbs, because I'm going to take the headlamp out and then I'm going to show you how you how you get the clips off. If you've never changed the headlamp bulb on one of these, it's really simple. A bit fiddly, you need small fingers sometimes, especially behind this, behind the battery on the passenger side. But hopefully it won't be too complicated. The issue is, on a Mark I, the battery tray, if you take the cover off, you haven't got a lot of access to get your hand down to actually change a bulb. And believe you me, I've done it in situ and it's really not nice on this side. It really isn't. Getting your hand down there is a bit of a pain, and it is a common practice because of how easy it is to actually remove the headlight unit. Just remove the headlight unit to change the bulb, because actually you might save your hands from being scraped on the battery cover. The only other solution is to take the battery cover off, battery and the battery tray, and then your problem's gone. But that's a lot of faffing around to do it. So you either go down that route or you get rid of you take the headlight off. So bit of a 50-50 there. The last point I'm going to make, and I'm going to show you this in more detail, is the headlight leveling motor. Very rarely do they actually pack up. I've never experienced it myself, but I know people who've had the experience of basically when you operate the dial in the car, which is right, this is the switch here. This adjusts the headlamp leveling motors, okay? And when it's set to 0, it's at baseline. So basically, if you're driving, if you've got a normal load or very little load in the back of the car, very few passengers, it should be at 0. But ideally, if you weigh the car down with, let's say, loads of things in the boot, especially being an estate, the car will sit lower to the ground. Therefore, the dip beam pattern will be much lower down than what it should be. And you may want to higher it up fractionally. Now, this going up to number 4, it highs it up by probably that much. We're talking not much at all. The actual adjustment on the motor isn't much, but it does affect the beam pattern quite a bit. So if you have some load in the car and the car is a little bit more hunkered down, you may want to adjust the level, but people very rarely do and don't really actually realize what it does. But there's very few issues with this. But for the purposes of adjusting the headlights, you set it to 0. First thing, battery tray off. We disconnect the battery to start off with. I'm not taking any chances when it comes to any electrical shorts. I'm just going to isolate that away from the battery as best as I can. There we go. stuff it behind there. That's my technique, by the way, because it will try and fight and then go back on the battery, and you don't want that because it will spark, and then that, for me, causes several different issues and can blow a fuse. I've known that to happen a couple of times, not on my own car though, but just isolate it with a piece of cloth. That's my technique. We can just take off these 2 mounting bolts. They are 10mm bolts. This is held in against the wing using, there's a clip inside the wing here. Obviously this is all going to be changed, so I'm going to have to probably swap over this clip. Good job I'm doing this, because, well, ideally I could have waited until the body shop actually had the car, but might as well do it now. Just trust them not to break anything. Now we have the sort of movement that you would get if they were broken. Line the dirt underneath that. Bloody hell, it's starting to rust out as well. Good job it's the wing, because I'm not bothered about it. That's the sort of movement you're going to get now. Right, what you need to do is, you've got this tab on this electric connection. All you need to do is push this tab this way, and then what should happen, there we go, it's come out. Okay, that is all you're doing. I've seen people go at these like a hammer to chisel. You know, all you need to do is push this tab this way. Okay, you're going this way, and that's it. It will literally just slide off, and that is how easy it is. And we're going to take this out in situ now. So, bottom bolt, yes, I've got my cover. Okay, we are underneath the car, behind the back bumper, and as we look up towards the back of the headlight, we've got the horns here. We have this bolt here, just here where my finger is, there's a bolt here. Okay, this is a 10mm bolt, and it goes straight into the bottom of this headlamp assembly. It's this one you want. I recommend you use a 10mm ratchet spanner to actually get this out. You can use a socket, but a ratchet spanner would be more appropriate because of where you are. You may want to jack up the car if you're a bigger person than me, which is 99% of people. But let's just see if I can actually get mine on. Brought to you by Usually Fixing and Tinkering. Most YouTubers would skip this step because it's too hard to film. Not me. That is now loose. But that isn't quite it, is it, guys? Because nobody, I've seen nobody remove a Mark 1 headlight easily without damaging any of this side here and the bumper, without removing this front grille. You do have to take this off because it starts scrubbing against this grille. You do not want to break anything in this. So the idea is, I know that, you know, I'm going to have mine resprayed there. I don't really care, and I don't care about the front bumper as much. But that doesn't matter. If I have had it resprayed, I won't want to damage that. So we do it properly. Now, there's a couple of things you need to know about the front grille, and it's quite a common thing to happen. These lugs can break quite easily. It's been held by one bolt there, one 10mm bolt, and another 10mm bolt there, okay? And just make sure that these lugs come straight off, okay? I mean, it should fit in like that. That one's already loose. And then the whole thing should move forwards. Obviously, there's some lugs that hold it to this actual, I should say, the front scuttle panel, I should say. It is like the top scuttle panel. But really, it's not held in by anything substantial other than those 2 bolts. So we'll just remove it quite easily. And no, there's no connection between the actual, this grille, they are quite flimsy, and the actual lock. The lock is just behind it. Is this the time to tell you that I've forgotten my extension? Yeah, luckily I bought a deep 10mm socket. I've actually released this tab up, and actually the whole thing has actually come forwards. It's just been held by that 10mm. Don't pull it too much because there's not enough flexibility for this to obviously move when you take the headlight out. That's why you remove this whole panel. So literally take this up and get the other one off. Okay, so that bolt is completely out, and we've moved this whole thing back. That one is just slackened to the point where this whole thing will just twist this way. Now I have done a little bit of cleaning inside here because it gets really dirty, because obviously this is your airflow, and obviously the 2-litre air deflector here, it actually takes air from this position as opposed to this position, so it takes air from lower down, which is why this is a fantastic modification. If you haven't watched that video, go and look at it. It is up. I think I put it up a couple of months ago. There's a picture of this as the thumbnail. I don't think it's entitled this, but there's a picture of this as the thumbnail. Now we have enough movement to move this out the way. One thing I've noted, this is a common problem where this bracket mounted to the grill, they actually snap down here, so be very careful when doing this, because if you push this up, it's gonna snap. And that is really the main way that they hold themselves to the car, apart from this clip here which goes here. And these can snap as well, they can snap here. These grills are not very well made, I have to say, whether it's pre or post facelift, they have the same mountings. So you can, you know, it is frequently possible to swap one of these grills for a collection front grill with a wire mesh, or the finer mesh of the earlier grills. There was much more smaller mesh slats in the actual early cars, but the facelift one's got this, I think, cheaper one where they've got bigger holes, and I don't prefer this to the earlier one. There's a few differences, there's a few things that I don't like. The one thing I do like though is the fact that the indicators are in the headlight, they are integrated, and they don't look like an afterthought like the Mark 1s. I just think slapping that in the bumper just looks weird, very weird. This looks more cohesive and much more in tune with the design theme of the car, the new Edge design. Anyway, let's get this off. Just theoretically, just should slide off. There we go. It says it wants to slide off. Does need a bit of persuading. There we go. Lovely. Oh, we got some clean. Oh, we got a bolt. I have to show you that. And this is where you find where your previous owner may have been stashing some surprises, because people don't really get this out. I love the fact that this is really clean. I did a really good job with this wheel arch and these. I tidied up these horns and everything. Although the bloody bracket's still starting to rust out again. I should have painted that, to be fair. But this is a good opportunity. Now, there shouldn't be any earth points on this car. There possibly might have been one on another car. But this is your wiring and this is your plug. Simple as that. Give the plug a bit of clean while you're at it. I am going to just give this a bit of a clean down here. But I can't recall what bolt this is out of and why it ended up here. So I'm going to keep that on the side of a question mark. It will go in my spares. I'm just going to give this a bit of a clean up round here while we're at it, because it just put a fresh headlight into a really dirty area. I'm not sure exactly why it gets so dirty. Maybe it's just where the air actually flows. I'm not going to bother about this bumper, because these clips are good. These clips are brand new actually. These are brand new clips on the bumper, but this wing is going to be replaced. They frequently rot just here, which is kind of where my hand is, just here. Dirt just getting. In fact, there is some surface corrosion along here already, so it's starting to bubble on this wing. So I don't know how many more years this wing would have gone before completely going in that area. But anyway, I'll cut back once I've done all this cleaning. Wow. Don't know if the camera can actually pick this up, but there is an awful lot of scratches on this, more than I actually thought. I haven't particularly liked this headlight because of that, but it's usable, I think. But if we put the new one right next to it, so if I just get the puffs away, there we go. Oh my goodness, that is night and day difference. And yet I thought these were quite good. I mean, that one's going to look really bad now. I think I'm probably going to have to wet sand that one just for the time being. That's just ridiculous. The amount of difference. So if I just put this back over here, just for the time being, just astonishing, astonishing. Right, I'm going to turn this back round. Now, there's one bulb here. So you just twist this off, and that is your indicator bulb. So again, we'll swap that over onto the new one. Put that over there. Now, this is something very difficult to do in the car, but I can show you off here. So you've got your electrical plug there. You've got your adjusters there and there. Now, the outside one adjusts the horizontal, okay? So left to right. This one adjusts the vertical. This is the one really you want to be looking at, but there's a way I'm going to do that in a bit. But for now, I'm just trying to get this this back cover off. So just pull the clip down and the cover comes off. Okay. Now, because of the lack of space on this side of the car, it is frequent for people to actually pull this in a manner which actually breaks those tabs there. So it doesn't really stay on that well. I have got to give this a bit of a clean anyway. Actually, hold on. Yeah, the new one doesn't come with this. I thought not. Because they're completely separate parts. I am going to give that a bit of a clean before I put that back, because I think I've got overspray on that, if I'm not mistaken. Right. What I've done is I've turned the whole thing upside down, and there's a good reason for that actually. So basically, you've got your main beam, you've got your dip beam, and your little side light. Okay, and the first thing we're going to take out is this headlight leveling motor. Now, all it requires is just to pull this. It's not held in by any clips, so pull that wiring. Okay, now the way it works is that there is a little attached to the motor, there is a ball joint that protrudes from the motor, and that pushes on that bracket, which pushes the whole thing, this whole lens, either up or down, the same way that you have manual adjustment. So the vertical adjustment is here, so it pushes it up or down, and the horizontal adjustment brings it, the whole thing, side to side. Okay, so the whole thing is loose within the actual housing. It's only held in by these two and this leveling motor. Now, the way we release this is a bit fiddly, but basically what you do is because this is the passenger side, now the driver's side is the opposite. So the passenger side, you're twisting in a clockwise direction. For the passenger side, it's anti-clockwise. So just twist it, and it will basically be now loose on its tabs. Now, I'm going to have to do this off camera, but basically, if you see here, it's now loose. And look, it's pulling the whole thing now, because obviously the ball joint is stuck in that bracket there. Now, the only way of getting it out is by doing a lot of fiddling. So you'll need like a pry bar or screwdriver, and it should eventually just pop off this actual bracket here. So I'll cut back when I've done that, but you're basically prying to the point where that ball joint clicks out. Come on, go on. Oh, it's gone. That was very easy. Now you see how that's now jumped all the way back. See, that's what it does. I mean, literally the whole thing can be higher or lowered using this motor. So it is just a solid shaft going through a little, potentially I think it's a stepper motor, this one. That's what would be used in these. So to reinstall it's going to be a bit tricky, but I'll show you how to do that in the new one. But anyway, let's put that aside. So move that over there. And now we are faced with the clips. Now this one, the actual bulbs itself, this one, you just push the tabs in and pull. Simple as that. Let's take that bulb out. Lovely. Okay, put that over there. Now, this one has a clip. The main beam has a clip on this side. Can you see that clip? Okay, I'm just going to try and show you as best as I can, because it's a good opportunity of showing people how you're doing this. Now, this is upside down. So in the car, it's going to be like this. So you're going to be grabbing your hand where the battery tray is, which sits here. You basically got this clip, okay, on this side, and it sits in that lug there. Can you see that lug. I do apologise for this. This is not the greatest way of doing this. It sits in that lug right where my finger is. Okay. There. Okay. Now what you want to do is push with your finger to release this whole wire. So this wire goes into there and across there, and half of it is spring loaded into there. Okay. And what we want to do is just push it down and then bring it up. So you push it, there we go, it's gone. Okay, so you're pushing down and up. So it basically releases from that little prong there. And what you can do then is, with a bit of maneuvering, you can just wind it out the way. Okay, there you go. Because these wires should go sort of in between the clips. So the clip's there and the wire should go through the clip. Okay, as normal. So open this out, and the headlight is held in with a tab at 12 o'clock. That tab goes at 12 o'clock, and then literally pull it out. Now I'm going to do that off camera because I do not want to be touching that halogen bulb. You do not touch the glass if you didn't know already. And then literally you just pull the connector off the bulb. Just a bit fiddly. Good job to inspect the actual filament, and this one looks absolutely fine. So let's just pull it out, wiggle it gently. It should be a very tight fit in that bulb holder. Okay, and then I'm just going to put this on a clean piece of tissue on the other side, just so it's not going to be at least contaminated as possible. Now the next one is the actual main beam. Now this is held in exactly the same manner, but slightly differently. So let me just show you. Okay, same again, spring clip, just push it down. Okay, this spring clip goes all the way across and goes up to the top there. So it's like a U-hook. So it comes all the way down, all the way around, and goes into this U-clip. Can you see that? So you push down and around, and there you go. It's released. Now that clip's released, it's a bit fiddly to get this around, but basically you've got to sort of push this clip around the wire so you can actually get this wire out. So just pull it there, push that clip all the way to the right, and you've separated the wiring from the clip, because it's kind of a bit weird this how it's done. But again, you've got a flat spot. The flat side goes like this. It's basically idiot proof, this. It can get snagged a little bit on the clip. That's what I have found with these. But you've just got to push the clip as far the way as possible. And then just, again, it's a single connection. There's just one connection. That's it. There you go. Put it on the tissue. And we are done. We are out. Now, I've got to be honest with you. I'm just going to show you this again. My repair is not faring well, even with the hot staples. I am considering the state of this, binning this, and I will take as many bits as I can. I may just take the wiring out. Naturally, you've got to take the clip out, so you just pull that clip out like that, and it'll sort of hook out of here. There we go. There's the clip, and that's another piece I've taken out. Now, the rest of it is not so necessary, but I think I may have to. I think these clips are actually part of the housing. I will check the new headlight and see, but otherwise I may just remove as much of this wiring as possible. I mean, this is all now really, really loose. I may just split this apart for its projector, but the truth is I really don't think there's much that this wiring, by the way, this internal wiring loom in these headlights, they never fail. I've never known them to burn out. I mean, the only thing I would suggest is cleaning the back of the connections and here and these, but there really isn't anything to be said. Obviously you can take this out by prying in there and then pull the whole thing out, which I may do, I may not do. Spares are a thing that I try and pride myself on, but this, rubbish. I knew that this box would come in handy just to protect the headlight while I'm actually working my way around this. Interestingly, all the wires are slightly different. Now, there is indications that these are very much sort of later headlights. Yeah, interestingly, slightly different. How curious. Just going to check. We have got the same number of actual connections. There's a few differences between the two. This is a more shinier metal, where this is more sort of a cream. And then we've got grey wires as opposed to these, which are coloured wires. I suspect that's a good thing in a way, because essentially it just means that you're not confusing anything. So you know which one is linked to which. So you've got all your wiring, your headlight levelling motor, the side light bulb wiring, which looks a bit more substantial. This plug is very different to what you got on the other one. So I show you the other one again. Well, actually no, the plug is the same. It just looks new actually. But anyway, we've got all the clips that come with the actual kit. Now this looks slightly different, and I'm just going to show you this. So as before, we've got this clip here, which basically the wiring goes through the clip. Go away. The wiring goes through this clip, and it's basically this kind of shape with just one hook. But this one up here is very different. So you've got two hooks. So you've got one that goes through there and one that goes through there. So if the camera isn't focusing, there you go. One through there and one through there. So it's a little bit different. This one is exactly the same. In fact, yeah. Oh no, it isn't actually. It's not the same. So the tang is actually down here. So you push it down to actually pop the bulb in, and then obviously to lift it up. That's actually better than this one, because this one is kind of on the side here. But yeah, that's really interesting. Okay, right, let's get cracking. Right, first up with this main beam. Now, my advice is, because of how fiddly it is to take out, I suspect what you've got to do is place the bulb in. So, place the bulb in, shut the clip, put the clip down. There you go, that's nice and secure. Okay, so that's sitting in. Let's make sure it's sitting in, yeah. And then you put the single electrical connection, which is this green one. Very self-explanatory, and just put that over. Done. Lovely. Okay, that is nicely secured in. It's nice and flush. Right, next one. We can put the side light bulb in. Yeah. Okay. And it's just a case of popping this in, and then just moving that down there and just pushing it in. It should squeeze in. Oh yeah, it's just gone in. It hasn't made a noise, but it's gone in. It should just be a push fit. Now, the next one is the main beam. This one. Where are you, sir? Right. So once again, this tab has to go at 12 o'clock. Okay, has to go at 12 o'clock. So let's get this routed in first. So if we just push the clip open, so if we just pull that, so you have to do both together. So you have to pull them both to actually, oh, this is a bit fiddly. This is very, very fiddly. So one, and then two, and then they both open. Now, what I'm going to do is, again, I'm just going to put this bulb in. You can do it either way. You can take the bulb out with the wiring and just maneuver it around the clip when you're removing bulbs, that is. Or you can take the wiring off, open the clip, and then just take the bulb out. There's a couple of ways of doing it, but anyway, you place it in like that, and let's just put the clip back over. So just push it round the tags. Remember, this is going to be so fiddly if you're doing it in the car. This is to show you exactly what you're potentially looking at from inside the car. Remember, you're going to be looking from a downwards direction at this. And then basically we put the electrical connection over, done with a click. And that is all in. All we've got to do now is the leveling mode. Now, strangely enough, we've got this tag that we kind of have to remove. Now, this tag here, I believe, is just to hold it in place in situ, but basically I've got to pop it off the same way. So come on, you got to kind of encourage it out the bottom. Why are you not coming out? There we go. Now you see that pop back a little bit. Now this is going to be the difficulty. I'm just going to pop that over there. Now you got these 3 slots, so basically you slot it in like that as we took it out. Okay, but you see what I mean? The ball joint does not meet the whole thing. So what you've got to do, and this is something I can't do on camera unfortunately, but I'll show you what to do. You have to basically get one finger and force this part basically up, and you've got to force this ball joint to slide underneath so it slots into this actual housing here. So it is a bit tricky, a bit faffy, but once you've done that, you're finished. You just twist and you're done. Got to try and get that ball joint into the groove. Done. Right, so basically what I did is I got the ball joint to sort of slide underneath and then pop, it went up. So, and now what you do is you just twist, and we're in position, and just put the electrical connector on. Done. Lovely. Bingo. And the last thing really to go on is this bulb here that you just twist into here. So I can't remember which way it goes now, Andrew. That would help. I'll just twist it until it actually goes in. There we go. And then just twist to the side, presumably. Yeah, so basically put it in like that, twist to the right. There we go. So to loosen, you turn it down and pull it out. Push it in, you turn it that way. Done. And obviously we can finish off by putting the cover back on, which might be a bit faffy. So got to just put the hole in. Oh, that was easy. And I've given this cover a bit of a clean up. So just place it over everything. God help me if I've got a blown bulb after all this. And you just click it on. There we go. Until they basically, there we go. Until they line up with the notches there. There's a notch there. There's a notch there. If it's only just on, it's not fully clicked in. These should be really, really tight. Anyway, let's now get this fitted to the car. Right, I have done a little bit of cleaning around here, and unfortunately there's been some paint reactions on this side which isn't brilliant, but that, you know, it's in an area where quite frankly I don't care. I'm not all, as I say, people think my car is clean and tidy and mint and all that, but honestly I really don't want it being concourse, and it's never going to look like that, but pieces like this really do help. So with my knobbly knees on camera, it is boiling today. The temperature has gone up a lot today. So just angle this in as best as you can without damaging anything. And that's as simple as what it gets. It hasn't lined up properly, that's why. You see, if your bracket is broken, that's the sort of movement you're going to get during an MOT, and that is not good. I'll tell you something, that is actually a world apart from the driver's side. I am going to have to get another one of these. I'm not going to leave it like that. I've got to sort the other side out. Deary me, you do one job. This is a thing when you replace one thing with a brand new part. There's a double of it, if there's a pair of it, like a light, you need to get the other to match. But hopefully I'm going to actually give that side a bit of a wet sand to see how well I can actually get it to come up. But anyway, so number one. I don't think the camera actually shows you what the difference is between the two, but there is a difference. So I'm just going to loosely fit these until I've put the bottom one back on. So again, just don't tighten it up fully. Right, now that is not tight, that is still allowing some movement. Again, same for this one really, because I think you can see where I've actually painted. Ideally, I should have painted this scuttle in Panther Black, because that's the colour on the outside, but I think being a black car, stone chip looks just as good. Unfortunately, we have had some paint reactions. It doesn't look brilliant on this side, I have to say, but as I say, painting these areas are very hard unless you've actually stripped the entire engine bay, and even then it's never going to be as good as the factory paint. So, you know, who cares really, as long as it's relatively tidy. Might be the fiddly bit trying to get this lined up, so bear with. It has gone in. It's just about lined up. No one can say men can't multitask. Lighting, holding their camera and doing the job at the same time. Right, now we can tighten these up. Not overly tight, just tight until you get some good resistance. There you go, done. And that is sitting absolutely perfectly, no movement at all. Very, very clean. That's not good. I'm gonna have to get another one. That is absolutely cracking. You can always tell when a car's had new headlights, even refurbing old ones, just it doesn't quite cut it. The difference between that and that is just something else. So I might have cost myself a lot of money by doing this, because I might have to be doing this again. So just link all this back up a little bit. So all this slots back into the grille, and get that bolt back in, thread it in, and right, now the key is, does everything work? Well, right, headlights are now on. Oh, yeah. I can hear the leveling motor, and it stopped. That's the noise you want to hear, because if I do this, yep, the leveling motor is working. Now, for the purposes of adjusting the headlights, you set it to 0. Headlights on, and we want full beam. Oh, we haven't had the symbol. Oh yeah, it's gone on. Right, okay. Now let's have a look. Oh, and not forgetting the indicator. Yep, we have that. We have the main beam, we have the dipped, and we have the side light. Bingo! Now, we know all the lights work, but we now need to adjust that headlight, because that will not be in the correct place at all. So the best thing to do, honestly, is wait for the night time, because then you can park it up against a brick wall and be probably about, I'd say probably not even a metre away, probably a metre away. And the rule of thumb is you can actually do this with your own legs. If you've got an assistant, you get somebody to stand about a metre in front of that headlight, and if the beam is above their knees, on average, it's too high. If the headlight leveling motor is set at 0 and the dip beam is way above someone's knee, unless they're a midget, your headlamp beam is way too high. It needs to be at knee height. So that's the rule of the thumb. But I'm just going to do it with this mat against all of my stuff there. I'm going to bring it into the garage, and I'm going to do it as a rule of thumb like that. Now I'm going to show you, just before I put it in the garage, how you adjust the lights. Right, there are two adjustments on the headlights as I explained earlier. The first one is through this hole. Can you see that down there? Okay, you have that adjuster. Now you can use a hex 7, a H7 Allen key to adjust that, or a big wide flat blade screwdriver. This is the other one. Okay, so you can use a number of things. Actually, Ford designed this really well. You can use a flat bladed screwdriver, you can use a Phillips, or you can use a H7, or I believe it looks like maybe not a 10mm, maybe about 11, 12, maybe a 13mm socket goes on the outside. So you can use a number of things to adjust the headlights. So that's not an issue. You can use a number of tools. But the most available one to me at this present time is a flat blade screwdriver. So that's what I'm going to use. Now this adjusts the horizontal, so side to side. This one down here adjusts the up and down. It is important, again, you must put the headlight leveling motor to 0. Okay, that is the baseline. So right now I'm going to drive this car in. I'm going to park it so close, probably half a meter away from this board. So if you see where the board is, practically the car has to kind of stop here. Okay, and that's the distance you're looking at. I know that there are people who will say, well, you're just better off going to a garage and getting it adjusted. Yes, of course. Naturally, when I take it in for the next MOT, or if I ever take the car into the garage for whatever reason, I shall say, could you just put the headlight leveling machine against my car and just adjust the headlights? It takes them a few minutes to do that. And their beam adjusters are, you know, they're top notch. That's what they use. But this is for doing it at home, just to get you a reasonable baseline so that you know you're not going to be totally blinding people and you're going to be getting a good level of light. Right, so we're parked up kind of where I suggested that we need to park up. Anyway, let's put the ignition on. Okay, let's have an initial look. Okay, we can see the problem. And I'm just going to confirm just for a second. Yes, it is definitely on 0. So we do need to adjust the vertical for start. It's way off. Now, the rule of thumb is that it should be below my knee. So just to confirm that the driver's side is correct, the driver's side is a little bit on the high side. I might have to adjust that. So in fact, I'm going to start with this headlight and then we're going to try and equalize it with that one. This is not going to be accurate, I will tell you. But at the end of the day, you've got some idea that you're not blinding people. That might actually be the correct setting, but I doubt it because I actually messed about with the screws before I actually fitted it. But anyway, let's get on and start adjusting. Okay, now I've got a bit of lighting. Now we're going to adjust the vertical. Okay, so we need the beam kind of like, this is kind of the distance that I've been told to look at. This is old school mechanics for you. It's above my knees. Now I am quite a tall person, so we might consider that the knee. So I would suggest that I will lower this down an absolute fraction and I will make a mark. I think if I just do that, okay, I've just made a faint mark for myself. That is for my reference. Now that is the uttermost top of that beam. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is to make that beam go, can't even see where I'm looking at. There we go. Right, I've got my screwdriver in there. Now to make that beam come down a little bit, you've got to screw it down. Okay, so clockwise to screw down. So turn this clockwise. It's just coming down a fraction. Yeah, I can see that coming right down. It is changing, that adjuster is changing, manually adjusting that angle of the whole light system under there. Exactly how the motor works, but you're doing it manually. Okay. Now, that's where my mark was. This is kind of where it was before, now it's here. And if I just stand like this, it's come down a bit. It's come down quite a bit. Now, the truth is, I wanted to leave the horizontal setting because I think that's best left to somebody at a garage with the proper beam equipment, okay? I've got to be honest with you, if somebody gave me £700, I'd probably do it. I'd probably buy one of the pieces of equipment myself, put it in here, and basically charge people for using it. That would be a great business venture. £10 a time for doing a light beam setting. I imagine the amount of cars with incorrect beams. But the horizontal setting is a bit more faffy, and I'm not sure where I'm aiming. That's best left to the equipment. But the vertical is what I'm concerned about. You do not want to have it too high or too low. That, for me, this distance away, is actually much better now. Okay, now we need to compare the two. That other beam is still too far. Yeah, it's far too low. It needs to come up to about here. So kind of this is the set mark now, so I've lowered this down a tad. That needs to go straight back up. Okay, so we need to turn this clockwise to rise. There we go. It is rising very slowly. So I do apologise for this blurred image, but can you see now the lights are starting to look a bit more equal? Come on, bring it up. Come on, bit more. Keep going. Goodness me, where's this? This adjuster will run out in a second. That's not quite equal. I'm not happy with that. And this mat, by the way, is equal. It's equal across the floor, and this car is sitting as straight as possible, because if your car is kind of like cockeyed at an angle, then obviously the beam is going to be different on each side, because you need to get the car level, which is why if you do this against a brick wall, a brick wall is a really good idea, because you can tell where the levels are a bit more instead of drawing lines and chalk marks. I mean, I can do chalk marks, but I can't be bothered. I'm just getting this car back to baseline a little bit with its headlights. That is quite, not quite. Keep going, keep turning clockwise. I think I need to just back it off just a few. That is equal. This is a new headlight lens. This is why I suspect that this is brighter. Look at this one. Now, this headlight isn't particularly bad, but look at this. This isn't the matte doing this, by the way. This matte is fairly clean equally on both sides. But if you look at the concentration of light, look at that. Look at that. That is a far bigger area. And you know why that is? Because the lens is cleaner. It is literally cleaner. I think there's only a few little blemishes here and there. Whereas this one, there's all sorts of stuff going on here. I am definitely going to give that headlight a wet sand to see. Well, obviously, you know, it's broken on the mounting. But the truth is, until I can find one as good a bargain as that, I'm going to have to clean this up as best as possible. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is how, well, mainly gentlemen, because I think ladies don't watch me. It's a shame, that is, because you're missing out, ladies. But that is kind of equal now. And again, if I just stand roughly about here, yeah, I'm above average person and it's at my knees. That is a good way to set it. So we are done here. Goodness me, the sun is so bright today. I'm so blessed to have this garage. I've just done this job and it's so quiet around here. It's untrue. I mean, you wouldn't know that these garages are here and I'm right in the middle of the city. Anyway, I am going to let you go here. That is how to change a headlight, swap everything over. a few little bits and pieces of information here and there that may be related to headlights and what you need to watch out for. If you do have condensation in the headlights, you've got to change the headlight. There's just no way about doing it. You could try and reseal it, but I doubt it'd be as good as the original. A lot of people have had issues like that. If your lens is a bit dirty, we'll do a bit of a wet sand. I'm sure I can do that at some point. That is definitely going to happen to the driver's headlight, because I've got a feeling that if I'm buying another headlight for under £50, new old stock that someone's just bought and not used, is a bit of a steal, and I've robbed the guy. That is a stunning headlight and it shows. So I'm going to have to deal with the driver's one now. It's typical, isn't it? But that headlight, I'm actually deciding now, as I was just finishing this video, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to put it in that box full of those puffs and stuff it in the garage, because if I had an accident, worst come scenario, and the headlight got smashed, I've got one there that I can just put on. It's not brilliant, but it will do. So I think it's always wise to keep those sort of spares hanging around, even if you don't quite like them. And if you're going to keep the car, which naturally I am, this is the sort of thing that you've got to kind of think about. Anyway, I hope this has been a good episode and a very useful one. Please like and subscribe. If you know people who are into Mark 1 Focuses and have never heard of this channel, God knows where they've been, but the Mark 1 community is huge, and I only have a small proportion of people, so they either think I'm a boring idiot or my videos just are not good enough for whatever reason. Anyway, you take care, guys. I will see you very soon.